I never imagined my life would come to this point. Sitting in my quiet living room, looking at the photos of my 5 kids, I still remember the day my world shattered. Her name was Sarah, my wife, my partner of 20 years. We had built a life together, or so I thought. Our 5 kids were our pride, our shared joy, our anchors. But beneath the surface, something had quietly shifted. Something I failed to notice until it was too late. It started subtly, with small lies and secret smiles over her phone. I brushed them off, thinking I was being paranoid. I was a busy man running my small business, trying to provide for the family, while Sarah seemed restless. She would come home late from friends' gatherings, sometimes with vague excuses, and I'd try to make sense of it all. "You're imagining things," I'd tell myself. "She's your wife. She loves you." But deep down, a knot of unease was forming in my chest. Then came the day she told me she needed space. I froze. "Space?" I asked, my voice trembling. "After all these years, after everything we've built together, you need space?" She avoided my eyes and whispered almost apologetically, I don't feel the same anymore. I need to explore life on my own." My mind couldn't process it. She had never been like this before. Or had I just been blind? I remember standing in the kitchen, the children playing in the living room, completely unaware, and feeling an emptiness that I could not explain. It was as if the floor had dropped beneath me, leaving me suspended in disbelief. A week later she left. Not just me but the kids too. She said she had found someone she believed was her soulmate. I remember the way she looked at me, that mix of guilt and certainty, as if she had already justified every action in her mind. The house felt enormous when she walked out, every echo of her laughter haunting the walls. Our kids didn't understand. They just knew Mommy was gone, and Daddy was too sad to explain. Nights were the worst. The silence was deafening, broken only by my own restless thoughts. Questions plagued me endlessly. Could I have done something differently? Did I miss the signs? Was there anything left of the life we had shared? First I was angry, furious even. But anger gave way to numbness. I threw myself into work, into raising the kids alone, into building a new routine that didn't require her presence. Friends tried to console me, offering advice that fell flat against the raw wound of betrayal. Time moved as it always does, but it moved differently for me. Every birthday, every milestone, every achievement of our children reminded me of the life that had once been whole, and now felt irreparably broken. Yet I survived. We survived. The kids were my purpose, my reason to wake up each day, and slowly, the anger dulled into a persistent ache, a reminder of what had been taken from me. Years passed, and life adapted to a new normal. I became both father and mother in many ways, attending school recitals, doctor's appointments, and late-night homework crises alone. My friends would tell me I was strong, that I was doing an incredible job, but strength felt hollow without her presence. Every time I looked at the children, I felt a pang of loss, not just for Sarah, but for the life we had promised each other all those years ago. Their laughter, their triumphs, and even their mischief became bittersweet reminders of a partnership that had vanished overnight. I occasionally heard whispers about her new life, rumors, vague updates from acquaintances, and the occasional social media post. She appeared happy, thriving even. I told myself it didn't matter. I had my kids, my home, my responsibilities. I couldn't dwell on what she was doing. I had to survive, and so I did. And yet, there were moments, quiet moments, when the past would hit me like a wave. I would catch myself imagining her walking back through the door, apologizing, explaining, asking for forgiveness. And then reality would crash back in. It was too late, she had chosen her own path. Then came the unexpected. 19 years later. The kids were grown, each carving out their own life paths. Our house, once filled with the chaos of young children, had quieted, settling into a calm I had never known in my younger days. I had learned to accept her absence, to live without the shadow of betrayal haunting me daily. But life has a strange way of circling back. One morning, out of nowhere, I received a call from someone I never expected, Sarah. Her voice was softer than I remembered, hesitant, uncertain. "Can we talk?" she asked. My first instinct was disbelief, even anger. After all these years, why now? Curiosity mingled with a strange sense of closure, and I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe away from prying eyes. She looked different, aged, yes, but also more subdued, calmer. Her eyes, however, still carried the same spark I had fallen for years ago. I waited as she spoke, listening to the story she had prepared over nearly 2 decades. She confessed her mistakes, the illusions she had chased, and the emptiness that had eventually found her. The man she believed was her soulmate had turned out to be just another chapter, another mistake, and now she wanted to face the reality she had abandoned. I sat there absorbing every word, feeling a mix of emotions I hadn't experienced in years: pity, resentment, curiosity, and a faint flicker of the love that had once been unshakable. My mind wandered to the children, to the family we had lost, to the time that could never be recovered. And yet there was a strange calm in her confession, a recognition that life had moved on, that we had both grown and changed in ways we could never have foreseen. The conversation was long, filled with pauses, silences heavy with unspoken truths. It was a mirror to the years we had lived apart, reflecting not just the consequences of choices, but the enduring resilience of the human heart. As she spoke, I realized something profound. The years apart had changed us both, but in very different ways. I had become resilient, grounded, and painfully aware of the value of loyalty and commitment. She, on the other hand, had chased fantasies and learned that not all illusions lead to happiness. There was a subtle humility in her tone, a recognition that some wounds are permanent, no matter how sincere the apology. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, I understood the full measure of the life we had lost, not because it could have been perfect, but because it had been ours. The conversation shifted to the children. She asked about them, genuinely curious about their lives, their dreams, and their triumphs. I spoke openly, proud yet cautious. Each of their successes felt like small victories over the chaos she had left behind. And yet, in that moment, I realized that none of her regrets could undo the years she had forfeited. She had missed graduations, birthdays, and the quiet, unremarkable moments that had defined our family's life together. I could sense her sorrow, but it was tempered by the distance time had created. A sorrow I could observe but not fully share. As we parted that day, the air was heavy with unspoken truths. She did not ask for reconciliation. I did not offer it. There was no grand resolution, no dramatic forgiveness. Instead, there was understanding, a recognition that some chapters end not with closure, but with acknowledgement. 19 years had reshaped our story, and now it existed as a memory, a lesson, and a cautionary tale all at once. I walked away with a quiet dignity, feeling neither triumph nor vengeance, only a sense of calm acceptance. Life had moved on, and so had I. In the following weeks, I reflected often on that encounter. It forced me to examine not only her choices but my own. I realized that in the aftermath of betrayal, the true victory is survival, the ability to remain whole, and the capacity to continue loving life and family despite the fractures inflicted upon us. My children continued to thrive, my heart continued to heal, and I learned to treasure the ordinary moments with a renewed appreciation. I had been a father, a single parent, and now a man who had endured the consequences of life's harshest lessons. Sarah's visit became a closing bookmark in a story that had begun with heartbreak and disappointment. 19 years had passed, and while the wound of her departure would never fully fade, it had evolved. What remained was not anger, nor bitterness, but perspective. I had survived. I had raised my children with love, patience, and resilience. And in the quiet evenings when the house was calm and the memories stirred, I allowed myself a small, private satisfaction, knowing that life had been relentless, yes, but I had been stronger. My family remained intact, my integrity unbroken, and the choices I had made in her absence had defined me more than her presence ever could have. Life moves forward even after betrayal, and sometimes the best revenge is simply living well.